What's going on, everybody? We got Dan Servodidio Jon Imepmba here. Welcome into the Bettor Sports Betting Show. Dan, man, friend, how things going for you, my guy?
Doing all right. Recovering from COVID over here. But we got some picks to give out to the people. So I'm back here. Hope your holidays were well. Everyone out there too. But doing well. We had some crazy college football games last night.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no better time, than right now for all of sports fans, right? We got the college football playoffs going on. We got the end of the NFL season going into the NFL playoffs, and of course, NBA and NHL underway. We had the Winter Classic yesterday for the NHL there
Yeah.
as well. I think it was Seattle, Vegas. I think it was the two teams that were there, if I remember correctly. So a lot of great stuff going on with the world of sports, but obviously you covering the college football and college basketball scene for us at Fantasy Sound. Like, what was your takes? What was your reactions to the two college football games you saw yesterday?
Well, first off, shout out to our producer Adam Bernard because he hit me up on text yesterday and was like, "Hey, if you want some action on the Winter Classic, take the under." And it hit. So it was a 3-0 final there. So thank you, Adam. Sitting on my couch watching some of that and hitting on that too. But yeah, these college games. I'll be honest. I had Alabama and I had Texas winning both of these games. And I don't feel too bad about it because both of them really came down to the last play. Literally, both these games came down to the last play to decide who was going to win the game. Alabama had the lead against Michigan and just kind of let it slip away, let Michigan drive down and score a tying touchdown to force overtime ultimately. And then, Michigan got the ball first. They scored a touchdown. Alabama has to match. And their last play call, it was kind of like a QB sneak right up the middle. It was just tough for Milroe to get. He had no room to move there. There was some. If you look at the play, maybe he could have like bounced it outside. It was a weird play call, honestly, but Alabama had a real chance to win that game, to beat Michigan, and they were winning in the fourth quarter, and kind of blew it. To really be frank there, because they should have won that game in my opinion, but let Michigan literally drive all the way down. Alabama's defense was its strength this year, and it just let Michigan drive right down to tie the game and force any overtime potential. But so that was a crazy one in the Rose Bowl to watch that. The Texas Washington one was, I mean, this was the offensive game for sure. But you had Michael Penix, this guy, I mean, Heisman runner up, just was lighting up this Texas pass defense, which has been a weakness all year for Texas, and it came back to bite them here. That their run defense is elite, one of the best in the country, but their pass defense has been a struggle against some of the teams and quarterbacks that can really threaten you through the air, which Washington definitely can with Penix, and they got 3 stud receivers. So they wasn't surprised at them having success through the air. The Texas offense kind of went through some sputters, especially in the first half, and definitely in the second half, but they like kind of barely kept pace with Washington throughout. But in my opinion, I thought their defense was going to be a little bit better and play with a lead, and maybe force Penix into some turnovers, but ultimately that did not happen. So give Washington a ton of credit here, winning outright as underdogs too. Right. Crazy stat, by the way. And national title game, we got Washington against Michigan. Michigan is favored here. 4.5 is the spread. Washington, under head coach Kalen DeBoer, they are now, I think, 5-0 straight up as underdogs when they've been getting points, and it's now happened. It happened yesterday. They were underdogs against Texas. They were underdogs against Oregon in the Pac-12 title game. Against Oregon State, I think, on the road earlier this year. But going back to last season too, when they've been underdogs, they've, I think, 5-0 straight up. So something to keep in back in your mind. But yeah, going to be a fun, next Monday, we got about a week here, I guess, until the national title game is Washington, Michigan. And if it's anything like these semifinals, should be pretty fun.
Is Harbaugh staying in at Michigan? There's some reports he hired a new agent. You think he's leaving?
I think he's gone.
Okay.
Because I think from what I've read and heard, there's a pretty good chance he's going to be suspended more next year because the Big Ten dropped their investigation of the whole sign stealing thing, and Harbaugh, accepted his penalty. But the NCAA overall, I think, still has an investigation ongoing, which is expected to conclude after the national title game. So there's a chance he's going to be suspended for part or all of next year for all this.
So he's just going to leave.
That's part of the thinking. He actually got asked about it. I don't know if you saw. He got asked about it after the game. He was like, "Is the national title game going to be your last as a head coach from Michigan?" And he just laughed it off, said, "Oh, I'm just looking forward to one more game with my guys and all that." But I do think there's a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely gonna be some jobs opening up in the NFL for him for sure, and with the way the season has gone for some of these more prestigious organizations, maybe the Patriots even. So we'll see what happens there, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, especially because what are the Bears gonna do at number one?
Right.
Are they gonna?
A report came out today that the feeling around the league is that the Bears wanted to trade Fields. They could get a second or third round pick, for him. So if they want to keep that pick, they could obviously then draft, Caleb Williams or was it Drake May? I think is the other guy that's being talked about as a top overall pick there. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how the top half of that draft works out. And if teams would hopefully hire their coach before they make these decisions, and then go forward with that. So.
Well, and the Bears said, there was a report that they're going to keep Matt Eberflus, right?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It all depends on who becomes available, right? I mean, I've seen that you could see the Commanders make a change. Obviously, the New England situation's up in the air. And if somebody like Harbaugh comes available, then who knows? Other teams could just reevaluate their coaching situation too. Be like, maybe we're better off going in this direction than our meandering situation we have going on here. So.
The guy took the 49ers to the Super Bowl. I mean, it was almost won it. So
agreed. What's your thoughts on I want to go back to the USC game there. People were kind of making a big deal about the USC backup quarterback putting up monster numbers and whether or not that's impacting now the view of Caleb Williams, where he was just surrounded with the offensive talent. Do you think that is a good or bad look for him? The backup's going out there hanging 50.
I don't think it matters, honestly, because these bowl games are honestly just like exhibitions, because you got opt-outs on both sides of the ball for both teams. You got players from both teams and coaches from both teams that maybe don't prep as hard, don't care as much, or maybe cared way too much. They probably prepped Miller Moss, that backup quarterback for USC, pretty hard, and he was probably motivated to show that he should be the starter next year, because that's the thing with USC. They're they don't know, they might go for the transfer portal and grab a quarterback here, or they're going to roll with Moss, who's now expected to be the starter next year. So that whole aspect of it, the fact that USC around Moss still had a ton of talent, a ton of playmakers at all these positions, especially wide receiver, but still got a lot of talent playing around him. So Williams, he kind of had a weird year too, because he's been penciled in as a number one pick for a full year, since last year, and he basically just had to play another season. It's kind of a tough spot for him to really go out and play well every single game, especially because USC's defense was terrible this year. Right. So that it really forced him to just be chucking the ball every single game, playing from behind more often than not too at times. So it's I don't take too much stock into that, honestly.
Yeah, just curious. I saw it being some talk. It was that and the age of this outcoming draft class as well. Apparently, they're all a little bit older than the previous quarterback classes. A lot of the quarterbacks are 22, 23, 24, where the rookie quarterbacks this year in the NFL are 22 years old, That
part is I'm not surprised at that too, because of the the COVID year, like a lot of these guys got an extra year of eligibility because of the COVID season. The NCAA gave them that. Also with the transfer portal, like a guy like Michael Penix, who's probably coming out after this national title game. He was a transfer and took advantage of some extra years of eligibility, and the transfer to Washington really kind of rejuvenated his draft stock and career. But a lot of these guys, have either benefited from an extra year of transferring or an extra year of the COVID season. Right. So it is like an older class. Well, and we'll see, like, after the national title game, there's thought of like, JJ McCarthy for Michigan, whether is he going to come out or not. So,
right.
We'll see. But it's going to be fascinating to see where these guys land. And we got months to kind of talk about before the draft, too, which will be fun. All right. For today's show, we got Tuesday here. So we got NHL, we got NBA, we got college basketball games all tonight. So John's going to handle some NBA picks. I got some college basketball, and our producer, Adam Bernard's going to hop on for some hockey to wrap up here. So let's start with the NBA. Start with hoops tonight. Pretty good slate of games for tonight in the NBA. Where are you going with one of your bets?
Yeah, first what I'm going to do, I'm going to go with the Oklahoma City Thunder here +4. They're going up against my Boston Celtics. Obviously, the Celtics have the best record here in the NBA. But it's the OKC at home here against the Celtics is just a spot where you look at Boston's against the spread numbers here. And on the road this year, they're just 6-8-2 against the spread, where OKC's 13-5 at home against the spread. We talk a lot about how good the Thunder are just in general, the second best record in the West here. And Boston just hasn't really been blowing teams out overall this year against the spread. They're 16-14-2. Now, yes, over their last 10 games, they're 9-1, but again, this is just one of the better teams that they're going to run on against their schedule here. So anytime I can get the Thunder plus points at home, I've generally taken it this year, and no homerisms here. I'm going to pull it up again, Thunder +4.
I mean, listen, sometimes you got to bet against your own team,
Listen, I hope they still win. I just hope they don't win by more than 4. So
that's fair. That's fair. There's a win-win scenario here for you too.
Exactly. So we'll ride it. We'll middle it here. But again, the Thunder they're just really good. Like they're a really good team. Play good defense. They have good depth here, and the Boston is such a hard team to really figure out because they go 5 deep when it comes to their starting lineup. Any one of those guys could take over a game, and then they have decent depth, rotation pieces that they throw in there with Al Horford, and you've seen guys like Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard step up a little bit more this year as well. So, but ultimately, I'll just take the points here with the Thunder. I've done it all season long. Anytime the Thunder, I feel like have been disrespected. There's a couple of games against the Warriors where they were getting points. I'm like, they're way better than the Warriors. Like, what are we doing here? And I've taken them. And I don't think that they're better than the Celtics necessarily here, but I do think that they can cover the 4 points.
Speaking of the Warriors, you got a pick here in that game, right?
I do. I don't actually think to me, this feels like Golden State giving points just on like merit, not necessarily play. They're giving 3 to the Orlando Magic at home this season. Golden State is 5-11 against the spread.
Wow.
They're 14-7 against the spread overall. They're 4-5 against the spread over their last 10 games. At home, they're just 9-8 on the season, and they're 15-16 overall. I think this is just name recognition, validation by the NBA, giving Golden State the 3 points at home here. But you look at that lineup, Draymond Green's not there anymore. They've benched Kevin Looney. They've benched Andrew Wiggins. Klay Thompson got benched the other night. They keep moving Chris Paul in and out of the starting lineup. Steph Curry's shooting percentage hasn't really been what it's been over the last month or so. And now they got an Orlando team that's really rolling with Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero sort of leading the way. They're 10-6 against the spread on the road this season. They're 22-10 overall against the spread. They're 6-4 of their last 10 games against the spread. They're 9-13 overall in the season. I'll take the plus points here with Orlando. I'd even consider betting them outright tonight. I think you could probably take a money line bet on the Magic. I just think they're just better than what Golden State's capable of putting on the floor. They don't have the defensive identity that they've had in years past. There's just a lot of parts moving in and around. They're trying to go younger. They've got Jackson Davis in the starting lineup. They've got Kuminga in their starting lineup. They've moved Podzinski in and out of the starting lineup. So, to me, it just feels like Kerr is still just trying to figure out what's working in Golden State, and they got a good Orlando team coming in. So I'll take Orlando plus the points tonight.
Yeah, plus 125 on the money line for Orlando too on BetMGM. If you want to go there. Yeah, it seems like the Warriors a lot of times it's just like, all right, Steph, go get us 30 and we'll see if we can make it up elsewhere. But you got a couple props too in this game that you like.
Yeah, I do. I got Steph Curry here under 28.5 points scored. That's plus 100. So even money bet on this one. He's only gone over this total twice in the last 7 games. So again, they move in Chris Paul into the starting lineup, trying to help facilitate the offense a little bit. But still, it's just not really there. There just isn't that fluidness of that offense here. And because they aren't as lethal of an offensive team as they once were, I feel like defenses are all just clamping down on Curry even more. Like Klay Thompson, hasn't been able to shoot anything for what feels like, this entire season. He had a little bit of a stretch, and you take away, some of those guys in there that were able to be knocked down shooters like Jordan Poole from that rotation, obviously not there anymore. And they're putting in guys like Kuminga, Jackson Davis, Podzinski's, okay player, but not like a proven shooter yet. Chris Paul's not a great scorer anymore. He had 24 the other night, but that seems like a rarity to happen. So defenses are able just to close out more and leave guys open on Golden State and dare them to shoot. And that's caused, I think, some problems for Curry. So we're going to go under the 28.5 points for him. And then I'm going to go over to the 23.5 points for Franz Wagner. He's gone over this in 6 straight games. Really becoming one of the better offensive players here in Orlando. Him and Paolo Banchero, again, really running a 2-man show. And I look at the wing defense that they have out there now in Golden State. I just don't see it. I don't know who's going to be covering Wagner on a consistent basis. They'll bring Wiggins off the bench, but there's been some conditioning issues with him. Some competitive problems with the reason they put him on the bench in the first place. Here, Klay Thompson isn't as good of a defender as he once was, and they don't really have the rim protection that they used to with Draymond there anymore. So give me Wagner over the 23.5 points here tonight.
All right. And your next pick here, I look to see, all right, the Bulls are on the slate tonight. So I figure this guy is going to be showing up. Wait, hold on. This is the Celtics. I totally read the name wrong. I thought you were going with a different guy in the
Derek
Bulls
White.
here.
Yeah. The problem with Derek White is Andre Drummond existing now. The Derek White, people have been playing the points and rebounds and the PRA numbers on Derek White. But Andre Drummond's out there grabbing 20 boards. So I can't, even though they're up against Joel Embiid tonight, another rebounding monster, I can't really risk any Derek White props for me at the moment. Kobe White. Yes. I can't really risk any Kobe White props at the moment. I am going with Derek White here tonight, though.
There you go.
Over points and assists at 21.5 here against the Thunder. Again, he's someone that's been filling up the stat sheet. And when these games are, competitive 30-plus minute a night games here for the Celtics starters, Derek White generally gets here. He's a good scorer. He comes off their bench, and what I like is he's an early sub guy for them, so he'll get subbed out. And then when he comes back into the second quarter, it's kind of just him by himself with like the second unit. Maybe he'll have Jaylen Brown out there with him, but that's really when he finds his offensive game, is when like Jason Tatum and Kristaps Porzingis are off the floor. So you'll start seeing him take a bunch of threes. If he gets hot early in that second quarter and knocks down a couple of threes like we've seen him do, he'll all of a sudden have 9, 12 points there going into halftime. And that's half of what you need. Usually he's going to get you 4 or 5 assists mixed in there. So for me, if this game's going to be a 239.5 game total with just a 4-point spread tonight, I think Derek White's going to go over the 21.5 pretty easily tonight. So give me that at minus 120.
All right. So Derek White, not Kobe White.
Correct. Derek White, not Kobe White.
All right. One more prop for you for Tuesday night.
Yeah, we're going to go Devin Vassell here over 23.5 points and assists. Same thing, starting point guard here for the San Antonio Spurs. Now, this one is a bit more risky because we've seen when San Antonio gets blown out, that Popovich will only limit his starters here. Vassell could be cut down to just 30 minutes here tonight. Right now, San Antonio is getting 10.5 on the road against Memphis. I still don't think Memphis is all that good. I mean, I understand they've been winning some basketball games now that John Morant is back. But, we've seen some recent inconsistent performances out of Ja here. Keldon Johnson's going to be back for San Antonio. They have Devin Vassell. Victor Wembanyama being limited to 24 minutes each of the last 3 games is a bit concerning. but they don't have a back-to-back here, so maybe there's some room for that minutes cap to get increased here a bit tonight. So if they could just hang around long enough against Memphis to where we get into the fourth quarter and maybe it's only like an 8-point game and not a 16-point game like it's been for San Antonio, if we can get 35 minutes out of Devin Vassell, I mean, I think he's going to score close to 20 actual points tonight. So getting his points and assists at 23.5 feels like a win to me when he's getting you 5 or 6 assists anyways, as it is. So I'm going to go Devin Vassell here against the Grizzlies over the 23.5 points and assists tonight.
All right. I wanted to ask you about the Grizzlies too, because I wonder about, when you're trying to bet on them, whether it's, against the spread or on the money line, if it's a closer spread or whatever, just how differently are you looking at them? Because, I look at them right now, their record 10-22 at home. They're 2-12, but obviously it's without Ja Morant for a lot of that. So it's like, how differently are you looking at them, when you're trying to bet on them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it depends on the matchup. They won like the first 4 games that Ja Morant was back. They've slipped a little bit lately. He did miss one of those games, but still, over the last 10, they're only 4-6. So I mean, those 4 wins were his first 4 games back. So they haven't been all that successful. There's still flaws in that team. Now they are getting healthier. They got Marcus Smart back. They just got Luke Kennard back. So that rotation is finally shaping up to look like the team that Memphis had hoped to put on the floor. So, yeah, there's certainly some looks of like, all right, this is what they were when they were missing Marcus Smart for a month and didn't have Ja Morant for the first 20 games. And they lost Luke Kennard off their bench, and they were kind of mixing and matching with different rotation pieces out there. They're a better team, certainly, than they were earlier this season. But, I still think that we've seen some inconsistencies with their overall play. 10.5 points feels like a lot. If Wemby wasn't on a minutes limit tonight, I'd probably take San Antonio with the points here just because of the number of points that they're getting. But knowing the fact that he's been limited to 24 kind of worries me a bit. That said, 2 nights ago, I think he had a 30 actual point game in like 24 minutes. So, he's more than capable of shutting down and dominating any team that's out there.
All right. All right, so that's it for some NBA bets for tonight. John you have the NBA DFS playbook up right now on Fantasy Alarm, so people could go check that out.
Published right now. You can go check it out if you're a Fantasy Alarm subscriber.
Awesome. And if you have the Fantasy Alarm subscription, you can get the college basketball DFS playbook, which I have out on Fantasy Alarm right now, so you can check that out too. And let's talk some college hoops here. I got 3 games. I'll give out some picks here for. We got really good slate here. Conference season is in full swing. So tonight we got some really good Big Ten, ACC, Big East games tonight. Really good late night Mountain West matchup, Colorado State, New Mexico. If you want to stay up late and watch that. My first bet here, going to start out in the Big Ten, and it's Northwestern and Illinois. Nice little rivalry game here, and I'm taking the under in this one, 140.5. So Illinois, unfortunate situation for them, and for just in general. Their best player, Terrence Shannon Jr., has been suspended. He's been charged with rape, unfortunately. So this is like a terrible situation. But for Illinois, their offense, I got to see them play against a good team without Shannon, because he was literally their best playmaker on offense. He was their offensive just catalyst, best ball handler. They don't have like a true point guard on that team right now, but he was kind of their playmaker on the wing. They have a lot of talent, on Illinois in general, but I got to see them do it. They played 1 game without Shannon so far. It was against Fairleigh Dickinson, and they blew them out. I don't take any stock into that. Now they have, their first conference game, first game against a real opponent here against Northwestern without Shannon. So I think it's going to be a lower scoring game for them offensively. I think their defense, they still have like a top 20 defense in the sport. So I think that is still going to be there for them, which is going to limit Northwestern. But I do think their offense is going to kind of go through some growing pains in these next few games once they get used to playing without Shannon, who, again, was their top usage guy, their leading shot volume guy. He was really important to this team. One of the best offensive guys in all of college basketball, honestly. So this is huge. And Northwestern comes in here on the road. I think that road matchup here is going to limit their offensive efficiency in this spot. They're a team that likes to play slow anyway. They're 351st in tempo this season. So they tend to play games slower, especially on the road away from home, where they lean on their defense to, play games tighter, slow the opponent down too. But offensively, I think they're just more methodical on the road, especially against a good defensive team in Illinois here. So grabbing the under here. Looking at Northwestern too, by the way, they played 4 games either on the road or on neutral courts, and all 4 have gone under so far. So I'm grabbing the under 140.5 on BetMGM for this Big Ten matchup.
I like it. It's two teams here. It's always funny. We talk about this a lot. You look at the records, and you see them have the same record, and one team is a 9th ranked overall, and one is unranked, and you're just right? Just the way college sports works,
Yeah, because you look at who Northwestern's played, and their 10 wins don't exactly match up to what Illinois' 10 wins are. So. All right, next one here. Go to the ACC now, and North Carolina traveling to Pittsburgh here, and I'm taking Pitt as the home underdogs. This is one it's definitely risky because North Carolina is very good. You can see top 10 in the country.
Okay.
They got a really good offensive team. I look at the spread though, 4.5. I think it's that tight and that low for a reason, because I do think Pitt is very live to win this game outright. Last year we saw, so this is North Carolina's first true road game of the season, which I think is very notable for a team that's had the comfortability of playing at home. They played some neutral games. They played some tough opponents this year on neutral games, but this being their first real road game, and it's it comes in a conference matchup, I think is tough for them. Because I see last year, North Carolina, they lost their first 4 road games of the year. They played a lot better at home. They played well on neutral courts, but on the road they did struggle. And it's essentially one of the a lot of the same guys from last year, a lot of the same core guys, RJ Davis, Baycott. But one of those losses on the road last year, early in the season for North Carolina, was actually on the road at Pitt. So it's kind of a similar spot here for Pitt to possibly pull the upset. But I look at Pittsburgh, they have the second best 3-point defense in college basketball this season, which I think is huge for this matchup specifically because North Carolina can get hot and can get a lot of points from the perimeter from RJ Davis. They have a couple other shooters that can get hot, but they're going to have to, I think, lean, because if they're not getting those points outside, they're going to have to lean more on Armando Baycott in the middle here. And Pitt has size and the length inside to limit Baycott on that end and really, I think, shut down more of what he can do to dominate the boards on both ends and score inside. They have guys that can really, I think, match up with him and kind of slow him down. So, and the other side, Pitt is kind of like one of those sneaky teams because they have a really good freshman, Carlton Carrington, who's kind of formed this really good big 3 for Pitt, if you will, with Blake Hinson at power forward is really good for them, and Isha Leggett at their shooting guard spot. Those 3 guys are just a really good core for them. And I think that, playing at home here for Pitt, it's a weird, traveling up north to Pitt for North Carolina. It's just a spot that I think could give them trouble. North Carolina is also one of those teams, if they're not getting consistent, stud production from RJ Davis and Baycott, then they could kind of struggle to get, some of their lack of depth could just hurt them without getting enough production from their fringe guys, their bench guys. They don't play a good, a lot of guys in their bench. So I think that could come back to bite them a little bit here on the road too. So yeah, give me Pitt plus 4.5. You can look at them on the money line too. I think they're live to possibly win this game outright.
Yeah, I mean, this is another situation where I look at the number 8 team versus unranked team. You look at 4 points, you're like, why? Is North Carolina a pretender then at number 8? I mean, if they lose this game, do they even stay ranked? Like where do they go from here?
They'd probably stay ranked, but yeah, they'd slip down a little bit. But
Right.
I mean, maybe there's more love for Pitt if they
Sure.
pulled this off. So
I would hope so, right?
All right, my last one, going off the board a little bit here, because I just see I think a good spot. Cornell on the road at Baylor. Baylor, another really good team out there, but I'm just fading them a little bit here, and taking Cornell plus the 15.5 on the road. This is a weird look ahead spot, I think, for Baylor because they start up Big 12 conference play on Saturday, their next game on the road at Oklahoma State. But this is like their first game back since before Christmas. They haven't played in almost 2 weeks now that they've been off. And I just think there's going to be some rust, maybe, just a slower start offensively. And I think Cornell could kind of just catch them off guard a little bit because, Baylor just kind of looking past this weird non-con matchup against an Ivy League team with, the Big 12 conference play starting up on the weekend. And Cornell's, they're just one of those feisty mid-major teams that they played a fast tempo, 20th in pace this season in college basketball. They play a deep bench and deep rotation, which I think is a great spot for an underdog just to keep rotating in guys, especially for, I mentioned a Baylor team that hasn't played since before Christmas. So there could be some, conditioning issues there, just some slow play. But Cornell also has the number 1 2-point scoring percentage this year, inside scoring percentage. They're number 1 in the country in terms of scoring percentage inside. And they're also top 60 overall in offense this year. So they're no slouch offensively. And Baylor's weakness, one of their weaknesses has been interior defense this year. So could be a little sneaky spot where Cornell just kind of pushes them throughout, doesn't go away. It's just kind of one of those weird little non-conference matchups right before Baylor starts up conference play. And I just think 15.5 is a little too much. It could be a 10-point win, but I just think 15.5 is a little too much.
Sure. A lot of points.
All right, so that's some college hoops. Again, if you want to play some DFS tonight, I got the college basketball DFS playbook over on fantasyalarm.com. Let's talk some NHL, some hockey to wrap things up here. Bringing our producer, Adam Bernard. I said earlier, congrats, Adam. You gave me a win yesterday as I was sitting on the couch. My Alabama ticket did not cash, so I was happy to at least get a win yesterday, courtesy of you in the Winter Classic.
Happy New Year, and happy that I could help. I mean, Winter Classics tend to either go wildly over or under, and those two teams just had under written all over them. So,
yeah, you nailed it.
Thank you.
All right, let's keep it going then. For tonight's slate, another big NHL slate too tonight with only the one game yesterday. So, what do you got rolling tonight?
Yeah, one game yesterday, 2 games tomorrow, but 13 tonight. So let's start with John's Bruins, who are on a 3-game winning streak, winning all those games by 2 or 3 goals, coming at Buffalo, at home for the Devils, and at Detroit. Columbus has lost 4 of their last 5 and 5 of their last 7. They've managed to keep it close in most of them, but they are sending out Spencer Martin, who hasn't started in close to a month. And the last time he was out there, he allowed 7 goals to the Islanders, who are not a great offensive team. So factoring those things in, I mean, he did play the Bruins well back in the end of November, but I don't think this is like a Boston Scott, New York Giants scenario here. So give me the Bruins on the puck line, -1.5. You can get that at +110 at Caesars. If you think that the Bruins will really spank Columbus tonight, the alt puck line -2.5 is +165 at BetMGM. So I'm going to go the safer side here. Maybe a little bit of a sluggish start after the holiday break. New Year's break. So we'll go 1.5.
Boston Scott did not score a touchdown against the Giants 2 weeks ago, but they're playing again this week, so we'll see if that happens.
That means he's due for this one in the second meeting, right? Yeah. Just keep that in mind.
The Bruins this year is surprising the way they've kind of gone up and down. Charlie Coyle is already 3 goals away from a career high. So, didn't expect that out of Charlie Coyle this year when Krejci and Bergeron retired,
He did step up, him and Pavel Zacha to a lesser extent. They have, not to say they filled the void of Bergeron, but they have filled the role and they're doing what they need to do.
Yep.
All right, you got another one for Minnesota and Calgary.
Yeah, things just aren't going well with the Wild right now. They were swept in a home with Winnipeg over the weekend. Starting goalie Philip Gustafson will be out for a couple of weeks with a lower body injury. So is Kirill Kaprizov, their top player. They're already missing Matt Zuccarello. Jonas Brodin's been out for a while. They're walking wounded. They recently did go on an 11 of 14 tear of victories. That pendulum appears to be swinging back here the other way a little bit. You look at Calgary, they're a streaky team, but they are coming off a strong win of Philadelphia over New Year's Eve. This is a chance. I don't love the matchup, but I think this is a good chance to take advantage of a team that's just like losing players left and right, and Calgary can strike against a team that's 1 point ahead of them in the standings. And I mean, listen, I don't know if either of these teams are going to be in the playoffs come April, but it's still January, and you got to beat the teams right in front of you. So I'll take the Flames at minus 105 tonight on Caesars in Minnesota.
All right, the road money line, love that. All right,
this one's a little bit more of a shot. What the Wild do have Marc-Andre Fleury going, so I mean he's coming off his 1,000th game. He's one of these guys where players just tend to rally, but I don't know. I think Calgary senses a little blood in the water here.
Yeah, so you're back in the Flames on the road and the Bruins on the road so far. So what's going on here with Tampa Bay and Winnipeg?
So we're gonna go to a total. I can't believe I'm taking the Flames on the road. That is just absurd. Chris is gonna smack me on Better Hockey now. We're gonna go under here. Tampa Winnipeg. Nobody likes betting the under, but I think it's a good spot here. Both guys are going to start their aces between the pipes. Looking at Winnipeg, Connor Hellebuck has been outstanding since mid-November. 937 save percentage in 15 games, going 11-2-2 during that stretch. And he's allowed fewer than 3 goals in all but 2 games during that time. The Lightning did win. They beat the Canadians 4-3 on New Year's Eve. They were struggling to put the puck in the net before then. The total opened at 6.5 last night, and it was 6 by the time I woke up. So that just in case the team adds an empty netter, either way, I'm going to buy the half a goal and take the alt line at 6.5 minus 125 on BetMGM versus going 6 at even money.
Listen, you gave out the under to me for the Winter Classic yesterday. So if you keep hitting these unders, then I'm just going to keep cashing them.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a good spot to take an under there. We don't, like I said, nobody likes to bet them, but sometimes you see a spot, and I think that's a nice spot to do it.
All right. And the last pick here for you for Tuesday night.
Yeah, a little West Coast. If you're having trouble falling asleep and you need some action, the Senators are playing better since the coaching change, but the goaltending is still atrocious. Anton Forsberg can't take advantage of the door being left wide open by Jonas Korpisalo every night. Forsberg will get a chance to go tonight. This is the worst team in the East playing a team that's in a 3-way tie for the best team in the West. The puck line for Vancouver is at minus 1.5 at plus 155. They do tend to cover that against bad teams. Ottawa has failed to cover the puck line in 4 of the last 7 losses. So everything's pointing that maybe the puck line's a good move here, but because the Canucks are about to embark on a 7-game road trip and did get to spend New Year's Eve at home, I feel like they could be a little bit sluggish here against a bad team. So maybe this game's a little closer than it should, and I'll go the safer route with the Canucks to win in regulation at plus 110.
All right. So you got the Bruins and the Flames on the road, and then now you're just going Canucks at home. So little road home back and forth here. Yeah. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate you jumping on here to give some NHL bets out.
Always happy to do it.
You said there's only a couple games tomorrow, so maybe not some NHL bets tomorrow, but we love bringing you on to pop in here. So thank you, man.
Appreciate you guys having me on. Always a pleasure.
All right, John, that's about it for us. But if anybody missed anything, go rewind a little bit on YouTube here, whether you're watching on Fantasy Alarm or Bettor Sports Betting, Bettor Sports Network, to get some NBA bets and some college basketball bets. We talked a little college football playoff too. So rewind it and check out all that. Hit up Fantasy Alarm on the Discord or the Fantasy Alarm All Pro subscription if you haven't already, to get all their DFS betting picks for tonight over on Fantasy Alarm. And John, we'll be back tomorrow. Me and Howard Bender giving out some early leans for the weekend's NFL games. By the way, checked out some of your picks on Friday's show. You were red hot. We had a
good little day there on Friday. Went 4-1 with the props, hit the touchdown bet. I think I went 3-2 maybe on the game bets, but yeah, Yeah, we made a little cash for those who tuned in on Friday.
I'm gonna have you fill in for me more often on those Fridays because you are giving out some winners left and right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern here, Bettor Sports Betting. Good luck and take care.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.